Hey guys, today I want to talk about something I've actually seen a lot of from a lot of different places. And the most recent place is when I was just watching a recent blocked content video. I think I was watching it last night, maybe the night before, but it was about, I don't remember exactly what it was about, but he just kind of said one little thing here that it's kind of like, kind of weird to me. And I think it's because people don't quite understand different cultures. And well, so basically, he was saying it's kind of confusing and weird that there's no new female character in the DLC for Smash Brothers. And the funny thing is that that's not kind of weird at all. It now here's the thing: it would be weird if Super Smash Bros. Ultimate had zero female characters in it, and let's say that there was no female characters in all of Smash, then it would be like, okay, when are we getting female characters? But you have to understand, we've had female characters in Smash since the very first game, but of course that was only one, and that was Samus, right? Not the most, like, not the greatest record of female equality in Super Smash Brothers. And then in Melee, we decided to add in princess characters, and we even gave Popo and Nana the same spot. So it's like there's a girl there too. And then as time went on, we got Super Smash Bros. 4. Super Smash Bros. 4, as in for 3DS and Wii U, had a ton of. I remember I thought that game had so many female characters in it, because I remember when Brawl came out, it didn't seem like they really added that many more in. I mean, when I trying to think of new female characters in Brawl, Zero Suit Samus, does that count? It's just Samus again. I don't know. I guess it does count, but there really wasn't that many new female characters. And Super Smash Bros. 4 seemed like it added in a ton of characters that were all ladies, and then there was a ton of characters who also had the ability to be male or female. So, and even in the DLC, Corrin had a female option and Bayonetta existed. So, when you look at all the girl characters, Super Smash Bros., there's a ton of girl characters already in the game, especially when you look at really it's all Smash 4, because I don't think there's any female characters that got cut ever. So when everyone came back, I think it was just all the same. But Ultimate even added in more female characters with Isabelle and with Daisy, and I honestly can't remember every character off the top of my head, but that might be all that was only added in. Oh, an Inkling, duh, of course, Inkling. So I mean, again, to me, there's a ton of female characters already in the game. I obviously have not listed nearly all of them yet, and I'm not going to, because the point is really the suggestion that there's going to be a new female character added in as DLC, and why they would have to meet that threshold. Sometimes you have to understand. There's no rule or good taste, good faith rules or unwritten rules about how many female characters to put in a game. And even if you make a whole game that has zero female characters in it, the game will still come out, and people might say, "Well, this is sexist," and guess what? The game will still come out. There's no written rule that says there has to be female characters. Now, for me personally, I definitely have noticed women I know gravitating more towards games that feature female characters, that feature cool female characters they can relate to, not just like sexual ones. At least even if there are sexual ones in certain games, like Dead or Alive, I've noticed that girls I play with will still enjoy the game if there's like a girl character they like. And even a lot of girls who barely play any games at all tell me, they only play as girls in games. Of course, that's not everyone. That's not everyone at all. I play as girls in games, girls play as guys in games. That's totally normal. But it's just, that's something that helps get more women into games sometimes. And if we can do some little things to help, then I think it's a good thing. So that's my personal opinion, that there should be a lot of female characters in games. And I want to do something now. I want to compare Super Smash Brothers to Dragon Ball Fighters, and then I want to compare it to Overwatch. So, first of all, with Dragon Ball Fighters, the director of the game she's a woman. It's a female. It's a woman. That's what do you want me to say? But Dragon Ball Fighters, when it came out, had two female characters in it. Now, after all of this DLC, 2 seasons worth of DLC, there is three female characters, because the first set of DLC didn't include a single female character, and that was 8 characters. With Smash, we're talking about 5. That game had 8 characters, and Now you're telling me like it's weird that Smash doesn't have female character DLC. That it really doesn't make any sense. And then let's break this down further. So when asked in an interview, the director was asked, what female characters would you like add in the game or something like that, or like don't or do you want more female characters? And she basically said like we're not going to put in characters who don't deserve to be in the game. We're going to put in characters that make sense to be in the game from a Dragon Ball Z standpoint because we're trying to be faithful to Dragon Ball Z. We don't want to change Dragon Ball Z. We don't want to like make Dragon Ball Z into something it's not. We want this to be faithful to Dragon Ball Z. So Android 18 is playable in the game because in Dragon Ball Z, Android 18 beats the shit out of Vegeta, and then later on, she's even a part of the Buu saga, and she's still very combat ready. She's still a powerful character. That's why Android 18 is in the game. Don't get it twisted at all. She's not in the game because we needed a girl character. She's in the game because she deserves it as being a cool fighting character in Dragon Ball Z. So you might say, well, there's other girl characters in Dragon Ball Z like Chi Chi and Bulma, but those characters don't fight in the show. Those characters are more like secondary support characters. And even though some of the secondary support characters do fight in the show, that's why they're in the game, like Tien and Krillin and Yamcha. Well, guess what? That's the thing. They actually fight in the show. So if characters don't fight in the show, they're not going to be in the game. That was the way she said it. And I want to apply that same kind of logic to Super Smash Bros. Why should we put in female characters just for the sake of having female characters? Let's put in female characters that make sense to be here. So, for example, some characters that I would say is 2B from Nier Automata. I think everyone loves her. She's the kind of character who is on the borderline of being very very sexualized but being very very pretty and cute at the same time. She walks that borderline very very thinly, but because of that, I've noticed a lot of girls really love her design. They love how she looks. Some of them want to cosplay her. And then there's other people who typically men or bisexual or lesbian women who who really are just like they just love the sexual nature of the character, right? And of course there are some girls who get empowered by the sexual nature of sexualized women too. It's not just like sexual girls only exist for people to fap to, right? Some of these characters empower other women in their own right. So it's a very complicated thing. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, this is the way it needs to be. But I'm saying 2B would be a great female character to be in Smash, but not because she's a female, but because she's a great lead protagonist character. And that's one of the biggest problems, is that a lot of video games from the history of video games are not full of female-led roles. And if they are, they have to share a franchise. Like, for example, Final Fantasy and Persona. Final Fantasy 6 has a female lead role, and so does Final Fantasy 13. While most people don't really care about Final Fantasy 13, I mean, it's kind of popular, but most people kind of consider it a joke, especially the Final Fantasy community. Characters like Terra from Final Fantasy 6 are really more beloved, especially in the Final Fantasy community. People really like Terra. I personally really like Terra. Final Fantasy 6 was my first Final Fantasy game I ever played. I really, honestly, Terra's not even my favorite character. Celis, I really like Celis from Final Fantasy 6, but we're talking about protagonist characters. Because if we could get any female character from Final Fantasy or Persona or Fire Emblem, dude, it wouldn't even be a question. There's so many female characters in gaming history. But the thing is, we're talking about characters who are lead roles in these games, right? So from Persona 2, there's like two chapters to Persona 2. So Persona 2 is like split into two games. And in the second game, the one of the side characters, who's a female, becomes the main character. And guess what? Again, we're not going to go with her as the lead character over Joker. That makes zero sense to do when Joker has become the most successful, most popular main character from Persona, thanks to Persona 5 being the most popular, Persona game. So again, there's a reason why we got Cloud and a reason why we got Joker, and we didn't get Terra and any other female lead characters. So the real thing is, again, I would want to pick characters who deserve it. I wouldn't want to pick someone, for example, a lot of people want Crash Bandicoot in the game. I honestly think Crash Bandicoot is possible only because there's 15 DLC characters and we have like 11 left. So, well, okay, first of all, we don't. That's not confirmed. 15 characters is not confirmed, but it's being speculated as a rumor now that we're gonna get even more characters after a season two. It's all rumor. I shouldn't say that, but I want to say that it's very likely we're going to be getting at least five more characters after this first fighter pass happens. We'll say that it's likely, and how many more characters are we going to be able to, how many more characters are we going to get. So Crash Bandicoot does have a chance of getting in during this next season. But I always said I don't want Crash Bandicoot in because he's not as popular as people think he is. Those early PS1 days. If I had to talk about like the greatest PS1 games of all time, I think it's Crash Bandicoot. I think people saying Crash Bandicoot are not actually like the people who actually played Crash Bandicoot or owned PS1s, because I would say it would be like Final Fantasy or Metal Gear Solid. Those are the games that really represent the PS1, as well as Tekken. But as far as Crash Bandicoot, yes, I played all three growing up, and they're pretty forgettable. I think Sonic games are better. I think Mario games are better. I think Banjo Kazooie's better. So, and if I had to talk about Tomb Raider, again, I don't think Tomb Raider. I remember liking the original game back when it came out. Don't get me wrong. I remember thinking Lara Croft was a really cool character, but I don't think Lara Croft is a good fit for Smash at all. For one, the moveset potential is non-existent. That doesn't mean they can't make something, but the way I perceive Lara Croft is a girl with two Desert Eagles in her hands, running forward and shooting bullets, and then doing like these big, weird, awkward jumps. Tomb Raider now, a lot of people don't even remember the Tomb Raider games before this reboot Tomb Raider. And when I say Lara Croft now, I picture the new reboot Lara Croft in my mind. But Smash likes to do this thing where they have these really old school style designs for characters. And so it kind of sucks that Lara Croft now is so rapidly different from the original, to the point where she kind of has a bit of an identity crisis. But I know a lot of people just say no, she doesn't. Just the new version's good and the old version's bad. While I kind of like the old version's like face and hair, it looks a lot different from now. Her old style was really cool and badass. But that's me talking as a male saying a chick with sunglasses and guns is really cool. But that's not really the kind of version of Lara Croft they're going for now. So you're not going to get to see Lara Croft with sunglasses and two pistols in her hands like blasting people away. You're not going to see that now. So yeah, so I don't think we really need Lara Croft in the game. But a better example of a girl who has two handguns, that would be Tracer from Overwatch. Now, see, here's the thing. Tomb Raider, in my opinion, does not deserve to be in Smash. It's really not as iconic people think it is. And I'm so sick of people being so disingenuous with their ideas, because they're all based off of like Crash should get in because he's a platformer. No, a character needs to get in because the game is iconic. Okay, Smash is not a game about platformers. Yes, Banjo Kazooie's in the game, and so is Mario, and so is Sonic. Big fucking deal. It's not a game about platformers. It's a game about video games. Okay, so why is it that Terry is in? So many people are confused about Terry being in. Fighting games are already represented with Ryu, right? Well, guess what? King of Fighters as a game is just that iconic and popular and cool, and that's why Terry is in. I know some people who are younger might not realize that, but Terry, to me, as an older fan, as someone who grew up playing games like Capcom vs. SNK 2, yeah, to me, Terry deserves to be in for sure. And I think it's really cool that, because I always talk about, I always talk about King of Fighters and stuff, and people really don't even know what I'm talking about a lot of the time. And it's finally like everyone, it's like, okay, we put Terry in Smash, he's finally getting the recognition he'll always deserve. So it's a really prestigious title. People are showing a lot more respect to Dragon Quest now, and they're really open to getting new Dragon Quest games now. Same thing's probably going to happen for Terry. I think this will really open up SNK games and King of Fighters, and I'm hoping the next King of Fighters game does pretty well thanks to this. So, does Tomb Raider really deserve it? Just because, why? Because Lara Croft is a female character? Get that shit out of here. That's not a reason to put the character in the game. That's why lie about video game history like that. Put in a character who deserves it. In my opinion, Tracer from Overwatch deserves it because Overwatch deserves it. Now again, I want to compare Smash. I just compared Smash to Dragon Ball Fighters. Now I want to compare Smash to Overwatch because Overwatch is full of female characters. I haven't counted in a while, but last time I checked, there were so many female characters in Smash. It was ridiculous. Or sorry, not in Smash, but in Overwatch, it was ridiculous. I mean, there's like probably half as many females as there are male characters in that game, and that's a sign of the times changing. Okay, if you're gonna put in a ton of characters in the game, make them all stand out and unique. And Overwatch is more comparable to a game like Street Fighter because of Street Fighter, every character is from a different country. So I really like that in Overwatch, there's a ton of characters from different countries, and the only characters who are from the same country are when two characters are like really relevant to the plot. So, for example, um, uh, what's his name? Genji and Hanzo. They're both from Japan. And that's because they're both brothers. And Anna and Farah, they're both from Egypt. And that's because one's the mom and one's the daughter. So that's a really nice touch that I really, really appreciate. Especially since Overwatch is supposed to be about like all the greatest heroes of the world coming together. So Overwatch does a fantastic job of including a ton of different superhero like characters who are all from different races and genders. And that's how it should be. And also Overwatch is like the only game that has like old woman representation, because that was actually a problem for a while. Was that old men could be badass like Old Snake, but old women couldn't be. And it's like, okay, that's true. Well, guess what? Now Anna exists, and she's a total grandma. She shoots you to heal you because that's what a grandma would do in a fucking game like this. So yeah, Overwatch, great example of how to do a modern game. That's how games should be now. But games back then, we didn't have female lead characters in a lot of games because games were not really targeting women because women weren't buying games. Now we have games that kind of try to target everyone, so everyone will buy every game. And so people say they want like female characters in the games. Again, Bayonetta got in Smash. To me, that's proof that they're not sexist. They're not on purposely targeting games with male characters, but the Bayonetta got in because Bayonetta deserved it. That's the whole thing. Just like I think 2B deserves it, just like I think Tracer deserves it. But we might not get that from every game ever. So, in my other opinion is I really want Leon from Resident Evil 2 to be the main character and be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate to represent Resident Evil. But if they gave him a skin and or a Echo Fighter of Jill or another female character, I think that would be really freaking cool. So, again, that's what I'm wanting. I want this, but we'll have to see what we get. But the whole point I'm trying to make here with this video, I think I'm going to wrap it up right here, is that just because in America or in the West in general, we have this idea of representation and wanting to have these characters in just so that way it's like it fills up a checkbox. I think some of you guys need to step back from that mentality, realize that's not the way the world works. That's not the way we do things. It's definitely not the way Japan does things. Definitely not the way Sakurai does things. Sakurai's vision, he does not want to corrupt his vision with these weird dreams that like, oh yeah, but this game needs more female characters in it because blah blah blah. There's a lot of female characters already in Smash, and they were all good calls who all deserved it. Isabelle and Inkling fucking totally deserved it. There's no question they deserved it. So, yeah. So, what else? It's like, how can you say you want female characters in as DLC? What's the point? And to me, it just comes off like when you say that, it just kind of comes off as either you're trying to force your biased opinion on why a specific character deserves to get in. Usually it's what happens. People say, oh, Videl deserves to get in because she's a female and Dragon Ball FighterZ needs more female characters. Oh, whatever. Who's a female character from? I don't even know a female character from, like, who someone's... Oh, Shantae. Like, what if people are like, oh, what if Shantae needs to get in because we need an indie rep and a female rep? Okay. we don't need an indie rep or female rep, period. Now, when people talk about Doomslayer getting in and saying, okay, but he could be a first person shooter rep, okay, that could lead to an interesting move set. I could see how putting in a first person shooter character could make to a really cool move set because he's the first one of his kind in Smash. However, it wouldn't be because he's a first person shooter character and Smash doesn't have any. That's not why he would get in. That's just not the way it works. Every character so far has gotten in because they're a popular character. Again, we don't need another male protagonist character from a JRPG, but we got two of them so far in this DLC pack. We don't need another male fighting game character, especially when he wears red and has blonde hair. We already have Ken. But guess what? We got him. We don't need Banjo because we have Mario. But who cares? We're getting these characters because they are famous in video game culture, highly demanded, and they play really cool. So if you want to, in my opinion, there's going to be more female characters added in the next Smash game, either way. And there's probably going to be more female characters added in if they decide to do more Nintendo characters and not just third-party characters. But so far, with third-party characters, it's only been the main characters of each game. If we talk about iconic female video game characters, when you look at fighting games, there's a ton of them. But we can't get them because we have to get Ryu and Terry because they're the main characters of Street Fighter and Fatal Fury. But, Mai is in Fatal Fury, and Yuri is in King of Fighters, and so is Kula. Those would be, and so is Athena. Those would be some great female characters from SNK, but we're not going to get them. We're going to get Terry. We're not going to get Chun-Li. We're not going to get Sakura. We're not going to get Cammy. We're going to get Ryu and Ken because Ken is allowed to be in because he's an Echo Fighter. The list goes on. There's plenty of female characters from Final Fantasy. Even if they didn't want to do a new Final Fantasy game, even if they only wanted to do Final Fantasy VII, Tifa could get in, and she would play really good. But because she's not the main character of Final Fantasy VII, I don't think she's getting in. That's just the way it works. So, yeah, because of that, that's why things are looking the way they are. And so that's why we need female-led characters from games. We need, games with where the lead role is from a woman. And we kind of have a lot of the most iconic ones already in, because the most iconic one that I can think of would be Metroid. And guess what? Samus has been in since the very first Super Smash Bros. Game on the Nintendo 64. That's the whole thing. That's the whole problem, guys. We already have a ton of female representation from all video games without dipping into side characters from third-party companies. If we could dip into there, then there's a lot of female characters who deserve those roles. Because I would say Chun-Li is probably more popular and more recognizable than every character so far in the Fighter Pass, and that does include Banjo and Kazooie. It's just the facts. Chun-Li is a super insanely popular video game character, but we're not going to get her. So, sorry, but there's no point in just picking female characters just for the fact that they're female. Now, if Sakurai decides to do that, then he decides to do that. But I don't think that's why they picked Bayonetta, for example. I think they picked Bayonetta because Bayonetta was a good idea, and Bayonetta was one that the fans were talking about. And Bayonetta, of course, has a new connection to Nintendo thanks to the Wii U. So, yeah, that's why Bayonetta got in. So, what's going to happen next? I don't know. I really have no idea who the fifth character will be. I would love it if it was Jill from Resident Evil. And if it's not Jill from Resident Evil, I would eventually love that maybe in the fifth pass, or maybe maybe after the fifth character in the second pass, in fight in character number 6 through 10, that we get 2B, and/or we get Tracer. To me, those are my top 2 picks for female characters, and they're kind of both characters who I'm not exactly banking on. I kind of think Geno has to happen, If we have 15 characters and we don't get Geno, I will be mind blown. But if we only get 10 characters, though, I can kind of look past not getting Geno. But I feel like 2B could happen. It's not like it's impossible. So we'll see what happens. Either way, all I want to do is basically just say that's my opinion on that, and we will see what happens. We'll see who we get. But I don't like when people say we need to have a female character, especially because they almost never follow up with why we need one, and why Nintendo would care, and why Sakurai would care, because none of them do. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave this video here, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.